going live on YouTube. YouTube is live. What's up, you guys? Dr. Dion Napier with Amplify Vocal Studio. I'm coming in a little later than I normally do, but this is the time chunk that I had. So I'm going to hop in and share a couple of things with you guys today. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Dion Napier. I'm an 11-year university-trained classical singer turned commercial style voice coach, and I help university-trained opera singers and bel canto voice teachers learn how to sing commercial music without sounding operatic, because it's a struggle. Welcome to you guys that are joining. It can be a struggle, y'all, but it's not impossible. So what I want to talk about today are 6, I think, hang-ups that I've been seeing in my studio recently as singers are trying to transition from classical to contemporary singing. There are like 6 common little habits and little hangups that's showing up, and I want to talk to y'all about it, and then I'm gonna hop off. Okay. Hey, everybody that's joining. I'm not gonna take time to wave at y'all individually, but welcome and thank you for being here. All right. So the first hang up that happens a lot. Opera singers, when you come in the studio and you're trying to sing your little musical theater, I won't say little, I'm not going to play it down, but when you're trying to sing your musical theater numbers or your commercial songs, and you come in and you sing it, and I'm like, good, can you sing it a different way? Almost all the time, y'all sing it louder. That's your default thing to go to sing it a different way, okay? When I say sing it a different way, I'm not necessarily asking you to sing it louder. I guess in your mind, it's like, if I emphasize it more, it's more believable, but you're just raising the volume. It's just more decibels. That don't make it more believable. That's just louder. But a lot of times it's still falling flat. Okay. When I say falling flat, I don't mean tonally. I mean, you don't have a clear point of view. I'm talking about them acting skills are rusty. You know what I'm saying? We have been focused so much on bel canto and so much on the voice, that we come into this commercial music with that same frame of mind. And when you're singing commercial music, it's not like that. It's not voice first. Usually it's narrative first. Usually it's intent and motivation first. Why are you even singing this? Why are you saying this? What is your perspective? You have to identify that first before you can go in and sing, and then that will make it interesting. Okay, so I don't want to talk too much, but what I'm saying is, when I say sing it differently, don't just come in and sing it louder. Opera singers, I'm asking you to choose a point of view. You can consider phrasing it differently, right? Doing your phrases differently. You can consider adding in different textures. Typically, opera singers don't do nothing with breathy texture because we don't do that, but that's a texture that's all over pop music. So those are just some ideas, okay? So that's the first hang up. When I say sing it differently, you default to singing it louder, and that's not what I'm asking for, okay? Necessarily. The second hang up is overly compressing the vocal cords and holding your breath. Y'all, and I can talk to y'all about this stuff because a lot of this stuff I used to do, and every now and again I still do. So I have to catch myself as well. So what happens is, we know that we're coming into commercial music. So we know that it's an edgier sound that's required. We know it's a more modern, contemporary sound. We hear people belting. We perceive it as being loud and powerful. And so what ends up happening is that in order to produce a sound that sounds less classical, we end up overdoing it in the opposite direction with squeezing the chords and forgetting to exhale through. Okay, so I was telling the group I was with this morning, just because you're transitioning and you're learning how to sing a different way, you are not abandoning and throwing everything away that you did in classical. It is not a this for this instead of that. It's not that. It's this and that. It's your voice being expanded, not necessarily exchanged, unless you want to exchange and you exclusively want to do commercial music. But that's not what I promote. I love working with professional opera singers that are still in their industry, still working, still making money with their voice, but they just want to expand out and learn how to use their voice a different way. Okay. So as you're crossing over to sing commercial music, you have to remember, in an attempt to not sound classical, don't overdo it and go the opposite direction and start holding your breath and creating a lot of tension and overly compressing the chords, because that's not usable. Okay. The third thing, and this is kind of in the same vein of what I just said. The third thing that I'm seeing is y'all are confusing twang versus nasality. This comes up a lot. I struggle with this, and this is one that I still have to catch. I think some of it is because when I was in the classical singing world, I was a coloratura soprano. You know, you keep that bright, effervescent kind of sound. And so I have that naturally. And so switching over into commercial, when I learned about the pharyngeal resonance, I kind of overshot it. Okay. So I want to bring this up because my singers are sometimes getting confused with this as well. So twang and nasality can have a similar sound, but they are not the same. Okay. So when you're going for twang, or what I call pharyngeal resonance, you want to make sure that your palate is raised and your larynx is neutral. So it should not be, I'll just do an example. I'll do monkey noises because I used to do that a whole lot. So I'll do that one. So it should not be this. Ooh, 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 ah, 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 ah. It's hard to do it now, but make it really pressing. Ah, ah, right? It's too pressed. It's too much air coming through. The cords are too tight, and it's a mess, y'all. And I used to kind of do that. My earlier recordings are not that great, so don't watch some of my earlier stuff. I was still learning, okay? But it did stop me from launching on now, because that's how I do. I learn and correct as I go. But when you do the twang, you're actually narrowing the middle of the throat. Okay, it's not overly squeezing the cords and creating this overly bright sound at the vocal cord level and nasal. It's not that. So what it should be, real twang should be, ooh, 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 ah, 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 ah. Ooh, 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 ah, 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 ah. My palate is raised and my larynx is neutral. That's what makes it not sound classical. Don't be afraid of sounding classical because the palate is raised. What you're coupling is a raised palate and a neutral larynx, versus classical, you have a raised palate and a lower larynx. That's the distinctly classical sound that you're not accessing at this point in a commercial context. Okay, I hope that's clear. So don't confuse twang and nasality. Don't overly squeeze those cords. Don't shove the sound in your nose, but keep the palate raised, larynx neutral. The next thing is defaulting into legato phrasing. This one is coming up a lot. And I believe this is happening again because classical singers, you're singing commercial music, but your mindset is still in classical land, which means make everything smooth and connected. So one example of this is Tribe, a song by Pink called Tribe. So I had a student that was working on this, and she was singing, you gotta get up and try, try, try. You gotta get up and try. And she was like struggling. And I'm like, why are you singing in legato like it's an aria? Like, no, feel the pocket of the song. You gotta get up and try, try, try. You gotta get up and try. You have to make that stuff separate, but you also have to feel it's a groove that comes with that. It's not legato like you singing an Italian art song or aria, okay? So that's one thing too that keeps coming up, defaulting to legato phrasing. A couple of things that can help this, again, think conversation first. Think conversation, not presentation. Think conversation. These phrases can be choppy. They're rhythmic a lot of the times, and they're in a pocket. So you got to identify that pocket. And you can start becoming aware of that just by actively listening to this music more. Okay. So that's another thing, defaulting into legato phrasing. I have two more. The next one, this is a big one. Again, you default switch to a lighter mechanism, especially at B, usually at B flat and B4. Okay. I work primarily with ladies. Okay. And so we think when we hit that bridge, we have to default flip into a lighter mechanism. But I'm here to tell you, you ain't got to do that. And you shouldn't be doing that if you're singing a song that requires a different intensity that an M2 rooted sound ain't gonna give you. You need to keep it in the mode that's gonna deliver the feel, the point of view, the emotion that you, the storyteller, wants to deliver. Okay, so let's stop this default flipping. So here's an example. So I'm working on I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston. I love that song. I've never learned all of it. I was like, let me learn the song. So on this B flat, if you default flip, this is what it can sound like. Oh, I want to dance with somebody, right? It sounds kind of clean, it sounds maybe kind of pretty and balanced, but it's not the intensity that's needed. So instead, you want to sing it in an M1 rooted sound or a chest dominant coordination. And it sounds like this. I want to dance with somebody. And you can't be scared to do that. Okay, that's your belt or that's your yell timbre. You cannot be afraid to do that. So you have to retrain your brain to not default switch just because you know you're hitting a certain pitch. Right now, yes, we do mix, and even what I just did was a mix, but it was a chest dominant mix. That sound was rooted in my chest voice. It was not rooted in a thinner M2 heady coordination. Okay, so don't default flip. And one more thing, thank you for y'all who are here that's still with me, because I know I'm running on through this. I got a couple minutes. The final thing that's coming up is that, of course, you want more power in your sound coming from a classical background, honey. But this is exactly what I wrote. Y'all be getting these downloads, and I just write them as they come through. It said your power source is weak as water. What do I mean when I say that? I mean your chest voice, the foundation of your mix, your power source, your speech level, speaking register, that thing is weak. Why is it weak? Because in classical singing and in our modern university voice training, typically the chest voice does not get isolated and strengthened. Usually the chest voice gets pretty much ignored and you bring head voice down into everything. So what does that mean? That means you now want to cross over and sing more modern music. You want to belt and add that belt styling to your singing. You even want to mix, but it sounds light. It sounds too light to you, and you don't know how to make it sound heavier. The one reason that it sounds light is because your foundation chest voice is weak. Okay, so what you have to do is go back and isolate that and re-strengthen it and get the clarity, get the optimal resonance back in your chest voice, especially ladies. And this is the same thing with men that sing opera as well in this modern day. Because one thing, and I'm done, one thing I didn't realize was that the men aren't really training their chest voice either in academia now. I mean, and if you go back and listen to old school opera versus modern examples, usually you're going to hear and discern a difference, okay? And so some of that is in old school opera training, they did emphasize chest voice singing and they sang in chest voice. And it makes a difference in your overall instrument, especially when you sing in commercial music for females, because primarily you singing in your chest voice in commercial music. Commercial music is not head voice dominant. So you got to go back and recover all, babies. You got to go back and strengthen that. I have to do that. I am still doing that. Okay, so that's another thing too that keeps coming up. You want more power, but your power foundation needs to be re-strengthened. Okay, so any questions while I get a sip of water? I hope this was helpful. These are hang-ups that are coming up in my studio. So if you guys are working to transition your voice from classical to commercial, you can be on the lookout for some of these and course correct as you go. Any questions? Any takeaways? Replay watchers, thank you so much. You can drop your questions and comments in the chat on the replay. What I will tell you is I will be going into more detail about these things in my Traction event that's coming up next week, April 21st through the 24th. Traction is a 4-day live online vocal cross training event exclusively for professional opera singers and bel canto voice teachers that are wanting to reconnect with your commercial and contemporary sound. Okay, it is exclusively for those singers. So if you are a beginner level or an intermediate, it is not designed for you. It's designed for those other singers that want to expand outside of the classical singing box. And what I say, reconnect with your origin voice, because most of y'all grew up singing commercial music, not classical music. And now it's like, dang, I can't find my way home. So Traction is going to get you started with finding your way back home. We're going to go over the foundations of a contemporary mixed voice. We're going to go over the foundations of a contemporary belt and how do you prepare your voice for contemporary belting. We're going to have a session on ear training, how to listen to commercial music, because that is a huge component when you are trying to sing this music and teach this music. You got to know what to listen for. Okay, so we'll do a session on that. And then, as always, we will have a spiritual activation where we're going to confront limiting beliefs, break down some of these lies in y'all's mind around belting and all this stuff, so y'all can do what y'all need to do and not be afraid. So that event again is happening next week. It's April 21st through 24th. If you want to register, it is totally free. Just DM me the word traction and I will send you the registration link and you can hop into the event. Okay, I don't see any questions, so I'm about to roll and pick up my meals for the evening. So y'all be good. Thank you for being here. Replay watchers again, thank you. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.